Should you buy Paralives? If your plan is A, to escape The Sims 4 or enjoy, or B, to copy paste your Sims 4 enjoyment onto Paralives, then sorry, but you're setting yourself up for disappointment. If I had any actual influence on this community, which thank God I don't, I'd straight up tell you, don't buy Paralives. Put it down and walk away. Now, isn't this a bit counterproductive? Telling people not to buy a game I actually support could backfire, basically causing the exact thing I'm trying to avoid. If I'd stuck to my original script, it would have just been contradictions. So instead, I've stepped back and tried to make something more useful, figuring out who's gonna vibe with Paralives and who probably won't. Let me explain.
Paralives describes itself as an upcoming life simulation dollhouse indie game. Basically, they're trying to make a game like The Sims, but not The Sims.
And I've seen this argument online that the developers have already put out gameplay footage. And I will tell you, that is not gameplay. That is curated clips of animations. These are nicely edited video collages, but it is not gameplay.
On a similar note to both, swimming is also not available during the early access. It's something that they'll be working on in the future. Inzoi have done the same. Even The Sims 4 didn't have swimming on release. What is it with these video game developers and not being able to do swimming? I don't know why swimming's so hard. I don't know anything about coding, really. It's probably very difficult. I'm just sat here like a princess complaining for nothing.
You are proudly showing off the minimum. What you should be doing is striving for the minimum anyway, and then exciting people by going, hey, not only can you live a life, watch TV, play the piano, eat food and talk, but you can also go to the moon. You can also have lots of pets. Are there even pets in Paralives right now? There doesn't seem to be any pets in Paralives.
I'm sorry to nonstop compare it to The Sims, but Paralives does that too. They are really marketing this game to Simmers and trying to point out, hey, look at all the things that you hate about The Sims. We don't have those.
Everything in these trailers that they're proudly displaying should just be the absolute bare minimum for a life sim game. Because that's all The Sims 4 did. It gave you the bare minimum to simulate life. And everyone ripped it apart. Let's rip this apart too, because it's exactly the same.
But the truth is, a lot of players within this genre are really uninformed when it comes to the games industry, or they just simply don't care about the backstory or the context at all. A lot of players within this genre will just see their favorite Sims content creator playing Paralives and go out and buy it expecting it to be like their beloved Sims 4, but it will be nothing like The Sims 4, and some people will be very disappointed because of that. The reason this concerns me so much, and that I think we need to be extra careful when we compare Paralives to other life simulation games, or even subconsciously expect Paralives to be anything similar to The Sims, the reason that really worries me is that I've seen the damage these kinds of comparisons can do to other games.
Okay, let's try this again. Should you buy Paralives? The real answer, it's completely your choice. You have every right to buy and play a game for any reason. Even if it's trivial or unrealistic, people still spend money on The Sims 4, which has been broken for years, and that's perfectly valid. So yes, your reasons are yours, and no one can tell you otherwise. But if I'm being honest, I will never forgive this community if Paralives gets dragged over unrealistic expectations. Remember Life by You, or look at what's happening with Enjoy. The life sim community has a terrible history of ruining games with overblown expectations. The last thing I want to do is discourage anyone from at least giving Paralives a try. I've been knee-deep in editing a live mode development retrospect, and going back over what Paralives Studio has planned for early access honestly shocked me. When I say I expected bare bones, I mean less than Sims 4's 2014 base game, just with more passion. But instead, I found myself pleasantly surprised by how well thought out the planned gameplay for early access already looks. I'm still keeping my expectations abysmally low, self-preservation, you know, but I think a lot of you are going to have that same shock once you actually get to play. After spending days piecing together the live mode development timeline for this video, I genuinely want to see the devs win. Not win as in crushing every other live sim competitor, but win as in Paralives actually performs well and gets the flowers it deserves. But let's get real for a second. The game isn't even out yet. I haven't seen any more gameplay than you have, and I've only dug through all the public info lifestyle that's available. So it would make sense for me to flat out tell you to buy or wait. What I can do is predict whether your expectations are going to leave you pleasantly surprised or painfully disappointed. First, I'll ask the question, should you buy Paralives if insert reason that may or may not have thoroughly confused me here? Like I said, I'm not about to make your financial decisions for you. I still regret half the ones I've made. But if you do decide to express your free will and give the game a try, what I can tell you is this. Will you actually enjoy early access? How long will you stick around? And if you do, how long before you get bored or frustrated? Obviously, don't take anything I say too seriously. These are just some thoughts I've had, especially after watching Now Malcolm's video. Shout out to him because he really got me thinking, is this community truly capable of ruining this game? Sure, if the devs put out a solid base, Paralives could at least see moderate success, right? I actually don't know if I believe that anymore. So maybe it helps if you have an idea of where your expectations might land you. Think of this video as a compatibility test. Some people are compatible with The Sims 4, some with Enzoy, and some could be with Paralives. And then there are the lucky ones who are compatible with all three. Seriously, I want to be you. Must be nice. But really, who am I? This is just a silly little Paralives video. I know nothing. Should you buy Paralives if you're completely satisfied with The Sims 4 and you're just looking for another option? This is the type of player who genuinely likes how The Sims 4 works. They enjoy the whimsical, sometimes over-the-top vibe of the game. They're familiar with the controls and often prefer how the gameplay systems work. From the freedom of individual social interactions to the simplicity of the game's UI, if they've been playing for a while, they likely own some, if not most, of the packs. They might even be in the camp of not wanting to start over with The Sims 5. What I would guess is what they want isn't really a new life sim. They want The Sims, again, just better, cheaper, and with fewer bugs. Will they actually enjoy early access? Honestly, probably not. Paralives isn't built to mimic The Sims 4. Its core systems, from how characters interact to how the world functions, don't follow The Sims formula. I even made an entire video focusing solely on how Paralives Studio has this habit of taking staple life sim features and completely rebuilding them to work differently. For a player used to The Sims 4, that adjustment period is likely to feel less like a fun learning curve and more like frustration. How long will they stick around? Most likely they'll dip in and out whenever a big update drops. Paralives is a one-time purchase, so technically they'll own every new edition as it comes, but unless they get over the fact that Paralives isn't The Sims but better, I doubt they'll last through the first year. Should you buy Paralives if you're an indie fan interested in a slower, experimental life sim? This is the kind of player who prefers niche concepts that complements gameplay more nuanced and focused. Having played indie games before, they've seen the benefits of creative minds having full control over development. Personally, I agree. Some real gems have come from indie studios, and as an added bonus, it just feels a little better supporting an indie developer than it does supporting another massive corporation. Will they enjoy early access? Yes. This is the type of player that tends to appreciate the experimental spirit behind Paralives. They're drawn to the indie games because those projects often take risks, rebuild familiar systems in new ways, and approach the genre from a different angle. Those unique habits Paralives Studio has for developing gameplay will feel refreshing rather than frustrating. For them, early access isn't a downside, it's part of the appeal. They're used to games evolving over time and enjoy watching something grow. How long the excitement will last will depend on how consistently the developers address bugs and deliver meaningful content. How long will they stick around? These players are the ones most likely to stick it out. They've got the curiosity and patience to put up with the rough edges and would enjoy diving into unique, streamlined systems. Updates will keep them coming back, not just for new features, but to see how the game itself evolves. If Paralives keeps delivering on that sense of uniqueness and experimentation, these players could easily stay invested for years. Should you buy Paralives if you're looking for a Sims 4 replacement? This is the kind of player who's grown fatigued after years, maybe 3, 5, or even 10 years of playing the same life sim. What used to feel like a comforting creative outlet has slowly run stale. We've been stuck in the fourth generation of a franchise that once promised evolution but instead delivered reused and repackaged content. No risk, no innovation. To cope, they remember the nostalgia from their first Sims experience. For some of us, a memory from childhood. If you asked 11-year-old me what I thought The Sims 5 would look like, I probably would have described Enzoy. And here we are, stuck in the same cycle, expecting evolution, a fresh take on the life sim genre, and ending up with the same sense of staleness. And now with a third contender in the life sim genre arriving in in less than 3 months, maybe, just maybe, Paralives could finally be the change they've been waiting for. Will they enjoy early access? Surprisingly, yes. This player is drawn to Paralives because it promises something different, and that initial curiosity will likely be rewarded, but the challenge comes down to expectations. This won't be because Paralives failed to deliver evolutionary gameplay. It was never designed to. From the start, the game has promised a new take on the genre, one that's slower, smaller, and far more focused. Instead of chasing big spectacle or mimicking what The Sims has done for years, Paralives is aiming for detail over flash, less about doing everything, more about doing a few things really well. For a player who's tired of expansions that repurpose old systems, that can feel refreshing. But it also means this type of player could eventually run into that same fatigue, not because the game underdelivers, but because it delivers something different than what they expected. Early access will feel like an experiment at first, but whether that turns into lasting enjoyment depends on whether Paralives grows into the kind of evolution they're truly hoping for. For the past 3 weeks, I've been working on a full timeline of Paralives' public live mode development history. In that video, I highlight some of the few things that were done exceptionally well, and again, I think many players will be surprised by the quality the developers have managed to pack into early access. But here's the catch. Those moments of brilliance could raise expectations too high, and if the community isn't careful, they can end up hurting the game's reputation in the long run. How long will they stick around? This is why I think this new obsession with the live sim could last anywhere from a year to a couple max. Paralives will be well received, but without the innovation they're searching for, the novelty will fade. For players chasing an expanded live sim experience, one that builds on top of the legacy already created, the excitement will likely taper once they explore the core systems and the limits of early access. Should you buy Paralives if you're excited about creative freedom and endless customization? This is the type of player who's drawn to Paralives because of the freedom it promises, not just in how you play, but in how much you can customize. From shaping relationship labels to choosing career perks, or even juggling multiple jobs, everything is designed to feel personal and flexible. The devs have made it clear Paralives isn't about giving you one set path, it's about giving you the tools to shape your own version of life. Will they enjoy early access? Chances are they're gonna love diving into early access from day one. It will give them a chance to explore those creative systems right away, even if the game isn't fully polished. They'll enjoy experimenting and pushing the boundaries, even if some features are incomplete or rough around the edges. For this player, the process of creation itself is the reward. How long will they stick around? They'll likely stick around as long as the creative tools keep expanding. Updates that enhance customization, add more layered gameplay systems, and give them new ways to express themselves will keep this player invested long term. If Paralives stops feeling like it's delivering the level of customization they hoped for, they'll probably start looking for something else to sink their time into. Should you buy Paralives if you're hoping Paralives will end The Sims? I hate to admit it, but I was her once. Time and time again of being burned by EA, dropping way too much on overpriced packs, only to regret it after a couple of hours of gameplay. Eventually, you just give up, and the worst part, EA keeps getting bolder, selling broken packs while gaslighting simmers with endless we cares and we hear yous, just to keep the loyalists in line. I've seen games torn apart for less, entire franchises tanked for treating players this way, yet somehow simmers keep buying in, so EA just keeps doing it. Maybe that's where Paralives comes in, a fresh indie live sim that could give us a glimpse of what EA might have done if they actually cared. And maybe it'll make some of us finally say goodbye to the old formula for good. Will they enjoy early access? Absolutely not. Actually, I think this type of player will have the hardest time diving into Paralives. Why? There are some hard truths I had to learn, truths you might remember from my previous videos. First, EA is a company that prioritizes maximizing profit with minimal effort. They found a formula that works and there's no incentive for them to change, especially when most of their players defend even their worst actions. Second, hoping a long-standing franchise will fail is a losing battle. It's going to take far more than a live sim to topple the giant that is The Sims. And third, it's not and should never be Paralives' responsibility to change The Sims, whether that means forcing the franchise to improve or wiping it out entirely. I've read through every single Patreon post, public and private, of the devs discussing Paralives development. One thing that stands out above all else, Paralives Studios' goal isn't to chase trends or compete with anyone. Their only mission is to make a game they themselves will love to play. That passion shows in the design choices they've shared so far, and it's why Paralives feels less like a product and more like a personal project built with care. Whether or not not it delivers on that vision is still up in the air, but that intention alone is refreshing in the life sim space. For players coming in with the expectation that Paralives will somehow dethrone or replace The Sims, early access is likely to be a letdown. How long will they last? They'll probably be the first to step away, especially if Paralives doesn't meet their expectation. Chances are they'll try it for a week, check back in once or twice when updates roll out, and then slowly drift off. It's a pattern that we're becoming all too familiar with and sounds scarily close to what happened with Enzoy. Let's just hope history doesn't repeat itself. And honestly, that's been my biggest roadblock while working on this video. I don't want to come off too harsh. I really do believe Paralives could be amazing, and the last thing I want is to alienate players who at the end of the day all want the same thing, a good life sim. This whole discussion is really just my long-winded way of reminding us all to manage our expectations. It's a phrase that's been tossed around for years now, and it makes sense it's popping up more as we crawl closer towards December 8th. But here's the thing, I don't think many of us even know what managing expectations looks like. I know I didn't. I was expecting something as empty as a Sims 4 base game, yet I was genuinely surprised by what the Paralives team has managed to put together for early access. Which is why I've been thinking about another idea for a video, breaking down what the safest expectations actually are. More specifically, digging into the difference between core gameplay, the stable systems every life sim needs, versus expanded gameplay, the extras that make the world feel bigger but aren't essential at launch. Paralives Studio has been clear that their priority is delivering those essential systems without stretching resources too thin, so they can still meet their 2025 release. And maybe, just maybe, that's a video I've already started working on. And since I'm already shamelessly self-promoting, keep an eye out for my live mode development timeline dropping next week. I'm so close to finishing editing that video, and if you're curious about what exactly is planned for gameplay and how those systems have evolved, it's a video probably made for you. Also, thank you for the love on the Parafolk visual development timeline. I took a risk with that one, and longer videos still kind of intimidate me, but I think I finally found a balance that keeps me from vanishing for a whole month. Again, remember, this is just a silly little Paralives video, and I know nothing.